Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, friends. I am welcoming all for the 10 days workshop on research methodology and professional and data analysis. This is one of the professional development program. So far, we have seen several aspects. Just I would like to recapitulate what we discussed for the past 4 days. I think this is a fifth day. First day we have discussed what is research, how to select the research topic, or what is problem formulation, what are the different approaches have been used by the researcher, what is inductive approach, then what is deductive approach. We have seen how to identify the base paper, what are the different sources of problem. In the second session, we have seen what is the review of literature, what are the sources of review of literature, why we should do review of literature, when we should do a review of literature, how to structure the review of literature, which tends supposed to be used writing review of literature, what are the different methodology of writing a review of literature. We have seen, finally we have come to the conclusion that the main objectives of writing a review of literature is to in the research design. We have seen what is research design. We have seen there are two types of research design: conclusive research and non-conclusive research design. We have seen under conclusive. Under non-conclusive, we have seen exploratory research, seen cross-sectional research, longitudinal research. What are the uses of exploratory? What are the uses of descriptive? What are the uses of casual research? Then we discussed something about what are the major difference between exploratory, descriptive, and casual method. Okay. Yesterday, we had a discussion with regard to the questionnaire development. During yesterday's session, we had a discussion with regard to concept. Construct, what is construct, what is variable, what is item. We have seen. Yes. Yes, sir. There is some voice problem. Okay. Now then, okay. Now it's okay, sir. Now it's clear. Okay, sir. Okay. And yesterday we had a discussion with regard to construct. What is construct? What is variable? What is item? Next we have seen what is formative. Next we have seen what is reflective. Which one causing construct? If variable is causing construct, what is mean by that? Again we have seen if construct is causing, it is said to be a reflective construct. Next we have seen how questionnaire should be formulated. We have seen a questionnaire consists of 3 important components. First part of the questionnaire talks about demographic profile of the respondent. Second part of the questionnaire talks about independent variable. Third part of the questionnaire talks about dependent variable. We have seen the steps of questionnaire formulation. Again, we have seen some scaling techniques, techniques used in the development of the questionnaire. We have seen nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio scale. When this type of scale should be used so that we don't have any problem in as data analysis. Finally, we have concluded with this session. Every objective should have a statistical tool. Statistical tool should be applied based on the objectives. So if you want to apply the statistical tool, at least you must plan well in advance during the questionnaire development stage itself. Okay, this is what we have discussed so far. Today, this is one of the very important and it's very interesting area. That is none other than sampling. Today we are going to discuss what is sampling, what are the different types of errors in sampling, what are the factors are to be used before selecting a sample, and under what circumstances we should select probability sampling, under what circumstances we should select non-probability sampling method. We are going to discuss what are the different methods of probability and non-probability sampling. Finally, just I have some research paper. If time permits, we can discuss how sampling technique has been used. Next, we are going to discuss what is the formula for how to calculate sample size, how to write response rate. If my response rate is very low, how I can present, what are the various implications of sampling technique on your data analysis. Okay, for example, if you have, there is a relationship between sampling and data analysis, we are going to discuss very elaborately. This is today's agenda. Okay, with this few information, just I would like to discuss the sampling technique. Sampling technique. Okay. Sir, whether you can see the Word file? Any one of the participants, any one of the participants, kindly respond whether you can see the Word file. Okay. Okay. Before discussing the sampling.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Madam, yes, madam. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Before discussing sampling, just I would like to discuss what are the basic underlying aspects of sampling. Suppose there are 4 individuals, A, B, C, and D. Okay, these are the 4 students. Okay, for example, suppose A age is 18 years, B age is 20, C age is 23, and D age is 25. Okay, so what you can do is you can calculate. You are supposed to calculate average. We are supposed to calculate average. Okay, now I am taking, there are 4 A, B, C, D. There are 4 students are there. Okay, so these 4 students are considered as a entire population. Okay, as a researcher, what I am doing is just I am taking 2% as a sample, 2% as a sample, A and B. So A and B, what is the A's age? 18 plus 20. 20 is a B's age. Okay, what is the total? 38. This is the total age. Just I am calculating average. I am calculating average. So what is the average? 19 years. Similarly, let's take second situation. I am taking A and C as a sample. A and C as a sample. What is the A's age? 18. What is the C's age? 23. So what is the total? 41. Okay. So now what is the average age? 20.5. Okay. Similarly, let's take situation 3. I am taking A and D. Now, what is the average? 21.5. Now, let's take, I am taking B and C as a study population, sampling unit. So, what is my average age? 21.5 years. Okay. Again, I consider B and D 22.5 years. Okay. Next, I have considered C and D. Okay. So, what is the average sampling? What is the average age? 24 years. Okay. Now, let's take, this is a sum, this time comparing sample average. What is the sample average? 19. But when I add all 4 students age, A 18, B 20, C 23, D 25. What is my population mean? What is the average? What is the population mean? It is said to be 21.5. So population mean, normally population mean is said to be population parameter. From the population parameter, just I am going to select some sample. From the sample, I can get some average, sample average. This is termed as a sample statistics. This is termed as a sample statistics. If there is any difference between population parameter and sample statistics, in other words, if there is any difference between population mean and sample average, this is said to be error. This is said to be error. Here, let's take here first. What is the difference? Minus 0.25. Second one minus 0.15. third and fourth situation. Say for example, I don't have any error. Okay. From this, what we can infer. From this, we can infer only one thing. Just a minute. Okay. From this, we can infer only one thing. Okay. So when if for example, if you want to reduce the error, sampling error, what you can do is you can increase the sample size. Okay. This is the interpretation of this aspect. Okay. I think just a minute. Okay. Dear participants, hello, sir. Yes. Okay. 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 It's not a problem. It's not a problem, sir. Okay. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So what is sampling? Sampling is often used when it is impossible or unreasonable to conduct census. Normally, we can collect data through different methods. One is census, another one is sampling. One is census, another one is sampling. So what is census? Census means when you collect data from the entire population, entire study population, this is said to be census. But normally, it's very, very difficult to collect data from the entire population. So what we are doing, just we are collecting data through sampling. So what is sampling? Sampling is a selection of small number of elements from the large defined target group of elements and expecting that information gathered from the small group that will allow judgment to be made about the large group. Okay, so what is sampling? What is sampling means, then whenever we do research, we can collect data from all the population. Let's take a bank. You would like to do some research with regard to banking sector. The bank can have 10 lakh customers. Sometimes the bank can have 20 lakh customers. Can you go and collect data from entire customer? That is not possible. In such circumstances, what we can do is we can collect some data from some group of people. This is said to be sampling. Whenever we do sampling, two aspects we should be considered. First one, selecting the right number of people. Another one thing is selecting a right number of samples. These two aspects are very, very important. What is selecting the right number of the people? Right number of the people means what? We should identify the proper respondents. This is very, very important. When we identify the wrong respondent, what will happen is sometimes we can get only the unengaged questionnaire, unengaged respondents questionnaire. That means simply they may fill 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4, or otherwise simply they may not fill the questionnaire at all. They may tick 5, or they may assign 5 for all the variable, or otherwise sometimes they may assign 4 4 for all the variables. So probably it will create a lot of problems. So first we have to identify the right population, a right respondent. What is the right respondent? I'm doing research in banking sector. Okay. Now, bank can have different types of customer. The bank can have a individual as a customer. The bank can have a business customer. The bank can have two-wheeler. The bank can have house. Whoever has obtained loan from the bank is said to be another customer. Similarly, whoever has obtained a loan from the bank for constructing house, he is said to be another customer. Similarly, when you obtain loan for the purpose of your education, you are also one of the customer. So I am supposed to define the respondents very clearly. This is very, very important. Okay. Another one important thing, I should have collected data from the right number of people. This is very, very important. Here we are talking about sample size. For example, I have collected data, but the data is not sufficient. I cannot run any multivariate analysis. For example, if I want to run some multivariate analysis technique like factor analysis or multiple regression or correlation, my sample size should be something at least I should have 300 to 400 sample size. Then only I can get very good results. Otherwise, then I can get a results that will not be sufficient to draw meaningful inference. So what is sampling? Sampling is a process of obtaining information from the subset or sample of large group of population. Then from the sampling, what we are doing, the results of the sample, the results of the sample are then used to make estimate of large group. This is a objectives of sampling. Then whenever we do sampling, we should consider two aspects. One is selecting right people, we have discussed. Another one important thing is selecting right number of the right people. This is also very, very important. Selecting the right number of right people. Okay, so this picture demonstrates what is meant with them sampling. Okay, so say for example, this is a population, this is a population, this is sampling. So you have taken some sample from this population. This is not representative. So that means you have not identified your sampling unit properly. For example, you like to collect data from the students who have obtained education loan, but you have distributed the questionnaire to the housing loan customers. In such circumstances, you can collect the data, but the data may not be sufficient, or you cannot draw any meaningful conclusion from the study population. Similarly, let's take here, this is a population, this is a population, whereas let's take sample. Sample is totally different. Sample is totally different. That means it will not represent true and fair view of entire population. Okay. So before discussing further, first we should know the basic terminologies used in the research with regard to sampling. Okay. First we should identify the population. What is a study population? First we should identify the study population. Study population may be the people, or the study population may be product, or the study population may be organization. I can give one example. Then I would like to give an example. For example, you would like to do the research on human resource management practice. Okay, so just you would like to collect data from the top level, middle level, as well as lower level employees working in the organization. Now, who is your population? Then say for example, all the employees working in the particular industry. Okay, particular industry means I should for example, it could be, for example, you are doing research in, you are interested in textile industry, means textile industry, or software industry, or hardware industry, or media industry. It could be a people, or it could be a product. For example, you can the bank can have introduce different products. Okay, so you can select any one of the product as a sampling population, or otherwise you can select some organization. Say for example, you can take engineering college as a study population, or otherwise arts colleges may be a study population, or law college may be selected as a study population. Okay, so what is population? Population means what? A population is an identifiable group of elements of interest to the researcher and pertinent to the information problem. Okay, so first we have to identify our study population. This is very, very important. Okay, next, study population means what? Say for example, I'm doing one research. We did one research, bank selection criteria adopted by MBA students. So who is said to be study population? All MBA students. All MBA students will comes under study population. From this population, what is my target population? What is my target population? The MBA program may be offered by arts college. The MBA program may be offered by engineering college. The MBA program may be offered by some B school. The MBA program may be offered by university. So, for example, to whom I am going to collect the data? This is said to be my target population. Okay. So what is next? I am supposed to define sampling unit. What is sampling unit? Sampling unit, this is very simple. Sampling unit means what? Say, for example, let's take, I would like to collect data from the particular bank customer. The bank can have different types of customer. I have considered only two types of customer. One is an individual customer or household customer. Another one is a business customer. Now, who is my sampling unit? Individual customer as well as household customer is my sampling unit. Whenever we do research, we should identify the sampling unit properly. Why we should identify sampling unit properly? If you have not identified sampling unit properly, what will happen is we cannot use any statistical tool. For example, you like to use paired sample t-test or independent sample t-test. If you want to use independent sample t-test, your data should have two aspects. For example, one, you should have collected one variable at nominal scale, another one variable at 5-point scale. Okay. Since you have not defined your sampling unit properly, either it could be an individual customer or household customer or business customer. Okay. If you have not defined properly, again, we have some problem. We will be land up with some problem. So we should define sampling unit properly. Okay. Say for okay. See what is this? This is just this is an example for sampling unit. Nail polish. Actually, this is another company. This company have selected the sampling unit. Females between the ages of 18 and 34 who purchased at least one brand of nail polish during the past 30 days. This person, he is then whoever has purchased nail polish for the last 30 years. This is one criteria. Another one important thing, the age should be at least 18 to 34. Okay. So if these two conditions are satisfied, they will be considered as a sampling unit according to one study. Okay. Similarly, let's take retail banking. You all are aware about retail banking. Then we are talking about retail banking, wholesale banking. Retail banking provides services to the retail customer, that is household. So here, who is said to be the sampling unit? The elements are household with checking accounts, and sampling units are household located within 10-mile radius of Indian Bank central location in Bangalore with a time frame of January 1 to April 30, 2020. That means whoever has an account in a bank, and then that is the person should have account in a bank. This is one condition. Another one important thing, you should have a account. Then you are supposed to live in Bangalore within 10-mile radius of Indian Bank. Okay. You should have account from the period of January 1 to April 30th. Okay. These are the various conditions. When you put some conditions, again, you can get more accuracy in your data. Okay. So next we need sampling framework. We have seen what is population, what is study population we have seen. Next we have seen what is target population. Next we have seen what is sampling unit. Next, this is also very, very important. Sampling frame. This is very, very important. What is sampling frame? Say for example, you would like to collect data from the respondent. Okay, good. We need some document. For example, I would like to collect data from the bank. Okay, Indian Bank or Karur Vysya Bank or some other bank. Okay, I need customer data. How I can get customer data? Then I can approach Indian Bank or Karur Vysya Bank or State Bank. I can ask customer database. Okay, this database is said to be sampling framework. Okay, so whenever I do research, whenever I am going to do research, I should have a sampling framework. If I don't have a sampling framework, how I can execute my study? That is not this is very, very difficult. Okay, sometimes scholar may ask the question, sir, I would like to use random sampling. I would like to use non-random sampling. Sometimes scholar might ask, under what circumstances I should use random sampling? Under what circumstances I should use non-random sampling? Normally, the researchers might ask this kind of questions. Okay, if you can able to get sampling framework, you can use random sampling technique. if you are not in a position to get sampling framework in such circumstances, how you can identify the customers? It is not at all possible. So now, no other option. You can go with non-random sampling, or otherwise you have been forced to use non-random sampling. So sampling frame, this is the meaning for the term sampling framework. Okay. Say for example, telephone directory is the best example for sampling frame. Let's take customer database is the best example for sampling framework. Sampling framework. Okay. Sometimes we can get a sampling frame, but there will be a problem with regard to sampling frame. Why? Sometimes it may be incomplete. Sometimes it may be incomplete. You have a telephone directory. This telephone directory probably last 1 year, it may not be updated. So that means what? It may be outdated. Okay. So another one important thing, you can get a sampling framework, but it may be it's inappropriate. That means sometimes some data might be missing. So these are the problems of sampling framework. For example, you like to you like to do research on the correspondence course offered by the university departments. Okay, so that is a distance education program. Okay, your topic is distance education service quality. Now what you can do is you need sampling framework, sampling frame. Your approach university, you can able to get only last year data, or otherwise last 5 years data, or otherwise you might obtain some data from the university. This data has only last 3 years, not latest year. So these are the problems. So we should address this kind of problem. Okay, now let's take what are the tools used to assess the quality of samples. Okay, for example, there is no statistical tool, there is no separate statistical tool has been used, but these are the two parameters. Based on these two parameters, we can assess the quality of samples. One is sampling error, another one is non-sampling error. Okay, so what is sampling error? Say for example, what is non-sampling error? Already we discussed very elaborately, even in the research design itself. What is sampling error? If any error is arising on account of usage of sampling method, this is said to be sampling error. If any error arising out of some other than sampling method, this is said to be this is said to be non-sampling error. Okay, say for example, what may be the reason for non-sampling error? For example, you may not identify the target population properly. So the target population may be inaccurately defined. As a result, it may cause some sampling frame error. Sometimes you may ask inappropriate questions. Then say for example, you might commit some mistakes with regard to questionnaire development. It can result measurement error, because if you have committed some mistake in questionnaire development, you have something in your mind. Okay, you like to measure the concept, but the questionnaire, how you are going to measure? Only with the help of questionnaire. If the questionnaire is not correct, or you don't know how to formulate the questionnaire, naturally you will have a measurement error. Another one important thing, say for example, if you have prepared poorly designed questionnaire, for example, the questionnaire construction is very poor, in such circumstances, then respondents may not answer the questions. So you may get response error. Sometimes you can also get some other error with regard to data collecting error. Okay, so these are the examples of non-sampling error. Whenever we do research, when we can say that your sampling is good, your sampling should have low sampling as well as non-sampling error. Okay, now we are going to discuss under what conditions we can use sampling and census. Say for example, budget. If the budget is very small, there is no other option. We can go by sampling. If the budget is large, we can use census. Similarly, availability of time. We have only 2 months time. Within 2 months time, we are supposed to collect the entire data. No other alternative. We are supposed to adopt sampling method. Otherwise, then you have sufficient time. That means you have 5 years time. You have 10 years time. You are supposed to submit the entire research report after 10 years. In such circumstances, you can use census. Similarly, let's take population size is large. Say, for example, let's take India population. Okay, let's take India population. Then even some studies says that our contribution to the entire world. Let's take India's population. What is our contribution? 17%. 17% of our total entire world population. Okay. So in such circumstances, let's take population size is very large. We don't have any alternate. We are supposed to use sample. Whereas when the population is very small, we can collect the entire data from the census. Okay. Even let's take variance. Variance of the population is small. Now you can use a sampling method. Variance of the population is very high. Now you can use census. Similarly, let's take when you use sampling method, sampling error will be very low. Whereas let's take when you then cost of sampling error will be very low. Okay. Even similarly, let's say, okay, these are the various aspects are to be considered before we are supposed to decide whether we can use sampling or census. Sometimes a scholar might ask a question, sir, when we collect the data from the data by way of census method, census means you can collect data from the entire respondent. In such circumstances, even you need not use a statistical technique for information. Even you need not do any statistical hypothesis because you have collected entire data. In case of sampling, what we are doing, then population mean is something different. We cannot collect data from the entire population. So what we are doing, just we are drawing some sample from the population. We have calculated a sample mean. Just we are comparing, we are assuming whatever the mean you have, whatever the sample mean you have, you are come to the conclusion that it will represent true and fair view of entire population. Okay, this is the meaning for the term sampling. Okay, so what are the characteristics of good sample? It should be representative. Whenever you are drawing some sample, it should represent the entire population. You might aware about this. In sampling, there are two different laws. One is law of statistical regularity, another one is law of statistical inertia. What this law says, when you draw sample, it will represent when you draw sample population. Okay, this is the first one. Another one important thing, if you want more accuracy, you should have collected at a large number of data. Okay. Another one important thing is then sample should have be accessible one. Then cost of sample should be very low. Okay. The formula, this is a sample size formula used by the researchers. Normally, let's take.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to butt in, sir. You take 2 minutes to relax. We will take a feedback complete because we need track record.
Yes, sir. Could you tell, sir?
For 3 minutes, sir. Right. 3 minutes. That's all.
Participants asking break or?
So me, sir. We have to correct feedback because participants are not telling. For 3 minutes, sir. Please.
Okay.
Okay. I request all the participants, please fill the Google form, feedback form. I request everyone, 423 participants. They are expecting your presence. If there is no register number, you can please type not applicable. If already registered, please type not applicable. I request everyone to fill the details. Please. This is very important. All of you, please fill it. Again, we won't disturb you. It's just a break time for 2 minutes. The form is available in the chat box. I request all participants please fill it. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Continue, sir. Thank you. Sorry, sir. I'm very sorry to disturb you, sir.
Okay, it's not a problem, sir.
Okay, continue.
Okay. So now just I would like to recapitulate what we discussed so far. We have seen what is sampling. We have seen what is population mean. We have seen what is sampling mean. We have seen what is sampling error. We have seen what is target population. We have seen what is sampling unit. We have seen what is sampling framework. We have seen. Okay. Now most of the scholar might ask only one question, sir, when the population is unknown, when the population is known, or when the population is unknown, how to select the sample size? This is a question invariably asked by majority of the scholar. Or otherwise, even let's take in viva-wise examination, whenever we conduct viva-wise examination, immediately then even the external examiner may ask these questions. How you have identified and how you have decided sample size. Okay, we cannot decide whether population is known or whether population is unknown. Okay, whenever we do something in research, there must be a backup, or there must be a sufficient evidence. Without evidence, we should not do any activity on our own. Let's take sample size. If you want, then sample size can be determined with the following this formula: n equal to z stat 6 at 5% level. Z stat 6 at 5% level. So what is the value of z stat 6 at 5% level? 1.96. This is the z stat 6 value at 5%. Normally, whenever we do hypothesis testing, we may fix 1%, or sometimes we may fix 5%. Sometimes we may fix 10%. Okay, that is a significance level. Okay, so z stat 6 at 5% level 1.96. Okay, next one, standard deviation at pilot study. Say for example, next one is z stat 6 at 5%. Next one, standard deviation at pilot study. Okay, so normally before finalizing the questionnaire for data collection, we should do the pilot study. Then you can calculate the standard deviation. Standard deviation means deviation from the mean is said to be standard deviation. You calculate standard deviation. That's standard deviation. Okay. Next one, error of acceptance. Error D refers to error of acceptance. So what is the value of error of acceptance? It could be 0.5 or it could be 0.1 whole square. This is the formula for sample size. For example, just I am calculating sample size. Z stat 6 value 1.96. A standard deviation at pilot study 0.800 divided by 0.05 whole square. You will get 800. So you will get 800 or 900. 800 to 900. That means if you have collected 900 samples from the study population, then only it will represent true and fair view of entire population. Now you might ask another one important question, sir. I am trying my level best to collect 800 or 900 samples, but if the respondent is not cooperating, what I can do? This is another problem. This is another problem because there is no contractual relationship between the respondents as well as the researchers. It's only the social obligations. Even let's take Western countries, for collecting samples, sometimes they may give some gifts, sometimes they may give some monetary compensation. But a country like India, this is not possible. Okay, so sometimes if just imagine that your response rate is only 35% or only 40%. In such circumstances, what you can do? What is the response rate? You have identified some sample size on the basis of the formula. 1000 is your formula. This 1000 is your sample size. You have identified 1000 as a number. Okay, that means you are supposed to collect 1000 samples, but you can able to collect only 600. That means only so in such circumstances, what is the response rate? Only 60%. Now don't get panic. Just if you take some research article, there are several research article has been published with regard to the response rate. Even some Even I have seen one article, the response rate is only 10%. That 10% means what? They have issued questionnaire to 100%, but they can able to get only 10 valid response. Then even the people are saying that's also accepted, but it could be like a CEO. For example, let's take top CEO. You would like to collect data from the top CEO. Now, your response rate could be very low, but we cannot apply the same response rate to the customers like bank customers or railway service customer or retail service customer. At least we should have some logic. Okay, 50 to 60% is acceptable. If your sample size is less than 50%, you can give proper explanation or proper justification. Okay, now what is the sampling plan? Sampling plan is nothing but it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint. So what is the process I am supposed to do? First, I should define the target population. Target population. How I can define the target population? I can define the target population based on objectives of the study. This is the first step. Second step is I should identify the data collection method. Okay. For example, I can collect data from different methods. I can collect data by way of questionnaire method, or I can collect data by way of interview schedule method, or I can collect data through qualitative research method, or otherwise I can collect data through focus group method, or I can collect data through in-depth interview method, or projective technique method, or constructive technique method, or I can collect data from the storytelling. Okay, whatever it may be, you should select the data collection method. Accordingly, you can employ any sampling method. This is the next step. Third one, I should identify the sampling framework needed. Okay. On incomplete sampling framework, decrease the likelihood of drawing a representative sample. So I should collect appropriate sampling framework. Okay. Next one is you should select the appropriate sampling method. This is very important. Okay, sampling method. Okay. Now let's take the sampling. There are two types of sampling method has been widely used by the researcher all over the world. One is sampling. Another is sampling. The name of random sampling is said to be probability sampling. The other name of random sampling is said to be probability sampling. The other name is sampling, non-probability sampling method. Okay. So what is probability sampling method? What is probability sampling method? In case of all the population units of being selected as a sample, in a class 100 students are there. Okay. I would like to collect data from only 10 students, 10 students. So now what I can do, I can write names of all the 100 students, and then I can fold the names. Okay. So I can shuffle it again and again. Now, what is my intention? I am supposed to identify, I am supposed to collect data from 10 students. Okay. So what is my probability? I can select any 10 students from roll number 1 to roll number 100. Either it could be 10, or either it could be 15, or either it could be 85, or either it could be 90. There is a possibility. This is said to be random sampling. So what is random sampling? In case of random sampling, all the population units will have a equal opportunity, of being selected as a sample. Okay. So what is non-random sampling? In case of non-random sampling, all the population units will not have an equal opportunity of being selected as a sample. Let's take a judgmental sampling, convenient sampling, quota sampling, snowball sampling. These things will come under non-probability sampling method. We are going to discuss very elaborately. Okay. So we should select the appropriate sampling method. Okay. How I can select the sampling method? I cannot select sampling method just like that. Okay. I can select sampling method based on some parameters. First one is research objective. to the research objective call for the use of qualitative or quantitative research. Research objective plays very important role. Okay. For example, normally let's take a statistical point of view or statistician or the statistical point of view. They will say when you collect data by way of random sampling, it will represent true and fair view of the entire population. Okay. Similarly, degree of accuracy. You are expecting more accuracy. More accuracy. That means you are sampling. You should have very low sampling error. You should have very low non-sampling error. In such circumstances, it is better. It is better to go with probability sampling method. When you go with probability sampling method, then probably we can avoid sampling error. We can get more accuracy. Similarly, let's take resources. Okay, if you want to do research, you need some financial resources. You need some other resources. For example, then resources are very limited. Our resources are scarce. In such circumstances, you cannot expect to use probability sampling method. Another one important thing, time frame. For example, you have sufficient time frame, 4 or 5 years time. Now you can use probability sampling method. For example, you have very limited time. You have very limited time. You don't have any sampling framework. In such circumstances, you are supposed to use only non-probability sampling method. Another one important thing, let's take the knowledge of the target population. For example, you know the knowledge of the target population. In such circumstances, you can use both probability or non-probability. If you don't know anything, for example, if you don't know anything about any knowledge of the target population, again, in such circumstances, you will be confused whether you're going to use probability sampling or non-probability sampling. Similarly, let's take research. You're going to do research, then let's take the scope of the research. Let's take the scope of the research. Sometimes the scope of the research, normally let's take the research. Whenever we do research, our main focus is international. International, let's take Scopus or Web of Science indexed journal. We are writing article to the international audience. Similarly, let's take your scope of research is international or national or regional or local. If it is international or national, it is better to use only random sampling. Another one important thing, say for example, statistical analysis need. You would like to use statistical tools. Normally, we can use two types of statistical test. One is a parametric, another one is a non-parametric test. If you have collected data if you have collected data or when you have collected data through probability sampling method, it is advisable to use a probability sampling method. If you have collected data through non-probability sampling method, now you can use non-parametric test, but people are using both parametric and non-parametric test, even if you have collected data through non-probability sampling method. If you have collected data through probability sampling method, probably you can get more accuracy, and then you can also ensure the randomness. Whereas if you have collected data through non-probability sampling method, you cannot expect accuracy and you cannot expect any randomness. Apart from this, these are the various factors. These are some other factors are to be considered for determining the sample size. These are the qualitative factors. For example, importance of the decision, nature of the research, number of variables, nature of analysis. Nature of analysis means parametric or non-parametric, whether you are going to do the univariate test or whether you are going to do the bivariate test or whether you are going to employ multivariate test. Then sample size used in similar studies, then incidence rate, then completion rate. Completion rate means that is the incidence rate means response rate. Okay. Next, now let's take, if the sample is not representative, then conclusion is not valid. Okay. You might have seen this picture. Actually, there is an article in Chicago Daily Tribune. Okay. in the year 1948, in the year 1948, Chicago Daily Tribune conducted some election survey. Okay, they finally they came with one so conclusions. Then what is the conclusion? Then the person who is holding the newspaper, what is the name? Truman. He will be defeated. He will be defeated. But when results came, you know what has happened? This person won the election. Why this has happened? What this newspaper did? This newspaper collected data from the population who has a telephone connection in 1948. In USA, let's take in 1948, whoever has a telephone connection, he will be considered as a rich person. That means this study consider only one group of population. That means this study neglected rest of the group. Say for example, in 1948, how many people might have a telephone? Say for example, let's take telephone, whoever has a telephone, probably it may be 10%. What about remaining 90%? So this study considers only 10% of the people view. Then it is, since it's not a representative one, the entire the study, then so the result is totally different. So the same thing will also be affected in case of our research also. So we should be very careful in selection of sampling unit. Okay. Say for example, under what circumstances we can go for probability and non-probability sampling. For example, if the nature of the research is exploratory, already we have seen what is exploratory research. We have seen these things under research design. If the nature of the research is exploratory research, you can go by non-probability sampling method. If the nature of the research is a conclusive research, that means you're going to do research on either descriptive research or casual research. Now what you can do is you can go with conclusive sampling. You can go with probability sampling. Okay. Say for example, relative magnitude of sampling and non-sampling error. Say for example, when you use non-probability sampling method, non-sampling error are very higher. Whereas when you use probability sampling method, sampling error are very larger. Similarly, let's take variability in the population, study population. If the population is a homogeneous one, sometimes we may say population is a homogeneous, population is a heterogeneous. Even if the population is a homogeneous, we can use non-probability sampling method. If the population is heterogeneous, in such circumstances, we don't have any other alternative. We are supposed to use only probability sampling method. Similarly, let's take statistical consideration. For example, you want more accuracy in statistics, better use probability sampling method. Okay. Now, these are the various classification of sampling method. Okay. Sampling techniques. Sampling technique can be classified into two types. One is non-probability sampling technique. Another one is probability sampling technique. We will discuss each and every method one by one. Under non-probability sampling method, convenient sampling method will come, judgmental sampling method will come, quota sampling will come, snowball sampling will come. Under probability sampling method, simple random sampling will come, stratified random sampling will come, systematic sampling will come. Okay. Now let's take convenience sampling. Okay. 35. Let's take 35. We have divided the entire population on the basis of city. Just imagine that in Bangalore only 7 people are living. In Chennai, 7 people. Pune, 7 people. Delhi, 7 people. Hyderabad, 7 people are living in these places. Okay. Now I'm supposed to collect 7 samples. Okay. I am there at Bangalore. Bangalore is very convenient to me because just imagine that then I would like to do research in the Bangalore. So what I can do in case of convenience sampling, I can collect the entire data. I'm supposed to collect 7 data, 7. How I can identify 7? I have identified this 7 based on my sample size. Based on the sample size formula. What I can do, I can collect the entire data from Bangalore. Okay, so what is the drawback of convenience sampling? None of the data has been collected from Chennai. None of the data has been collected from Pune. None of the data has been collected from Delhi. None of the data has been collected from the Hyderabad. So that means it will not represent true and fair view of entire study population. So this is the meaning for the term. This is the interpretation. So what is convenience sampling? In case of convenience sampling, the researcher can collect data according to his own convenience, not the convenience of the respondent. Okay. Next one is the judgmental sampling. What is judgmental sampling? Judgmental sampling is a form of a convenience sampling in which population elements are selected based on the judgment of the researcher. Okay. Let's take. Normally, judgmental sampling. Let's take a judgmental sampling. Let's take the same example. You have this is your study population. 35 is your study population. Okay, 7 people were living in Bangalore, 7 Chennai, 7 lived in Pune, 7 respondents lived in Delhi, and 7 respondents lived in Hyderabad. Okay. So, what is judgmental sampling? In case of judgmental sampling, the data will be collected according to the judgment of the researchers. Okay. Then I can just imagine that I am the researcher. Okay. Then from my attitude, from my mind setup, okay, from my wavelength, this person is good. Okay. This is my own conclusion. Okay. Reality may be something different. Okay. Let's take Chennai. And then now just I have excluded the rest of the population. Again, I'm going to Chennai. Then say for example, and then I don't want to collect data from 8, 9. Just I would like to collect data from 10 because my mind is fit with 10. Similarly, let's take Pune. I can collect data only from the 19. Similarly, I can go to Delhi. I can collect data only from 27. So this is the beauty of judgmental sampling. Okay, so what is judgmental sampling? In case of judgmental sampling, data will be collected based on the judgment of the researchers. For example, whoever is applying Vibhuti, he will be termed as he may be orderly persons. We can come to the conclusions, or otherwise when the persons wear white dress, immediately we can say that he's good at heart. Sometimes people might wear some other dress, for example black, immediately we will say he's not good. Okay, so data will be collected based on the judgment of the researchers. What is the drawback of the judgmental sampling? See, the researcher is supposed to collect data from 5 cities: Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Delhi, and Hyderabad. Okay, but none of the data has been collected from Hyderabad. That means what? Population is totally excluded. Okay, under what circumstances we can use judgmental sampling? For example, whenever we use test marketing, we would like to collect data from the test marketing or pilot study, we can use judgmental sampling. Okay, this is the application of judgmental sampling. Now we can discuss another one, sampling method. This is said to be snowball sampling method. What is snowball sampling method? Normally, snowball sampling method might be used in case of exploratory research. Already we have seen what is meant by the term exploratory research. When you do research for the first time, Just imagine that there is no previous literature. This is said to be exploratory research. Okay. So, for example, you would like to collect data from the smoking habits of the student. So how you can collect data? Whether you can ask this question directly in the classroom, that is not possible, because students feel that it's a very sensitive question. Even if you ask, you will not get any response. So what we are doing in case of snowball sampling, an initial group of respondent is selected, usually as random. One day you have seen one student is smoking, so immediately you got a student. Okay. So after being interviewed, you are asking who are all smoking habit. Immediately after being interviewed, the respondents are asked to identify others who belongs to the target population or the target population of the interest. You are asking the same questions. Okay, who are all who has the smoke habits in your class? He may represent roll number 10 or roll number 15. You can approach roll number 10. You can ask who are all. You can collect data from roll number 10. You can also get details from the roll number 10, who are all who has these habits. Okay. So subsequent respondents are selected based on the reference of the previous respondent. This method is known as snowball sampling method. In case of snowball sampling method, initial group of respondent is selected, usually at random. Subsequent respondents are selected based on the reference given by the previous researchers. Okay. Let's take snowball sampling method. You have, say, for example, Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Delhi, and Hyderabad. Okay. 35 people are living in these cities. Just assume like that. Okay. So I'm supposed to collect data. Okay. How many data I am supposed to collect? I am supposed to collect, there were 2, 4, 5, 6 data. I am supposed to collect 6 data. Okay. Because this data is a very sensitive information. So now what I can do, I can approach roll 2. I can approach 2. Okay, I can collect data. I'm getting reference from the 2. 2 is referring row 11. So I can go, sorry, 2 is referring at 7. Okay, I can go and collect data. 7 is also referring 11. I can collect data from 11. 11 is referring 14. I can collect data from 14. 14 is referring, 14 has referred 21. I can collect data. 21 has referred 24. I can collect data from 24. Okay. So when I collect the data by way of adopting the reference of the one respondent, this method is known as snowball sampling method. But what is the problem of snowball sampling method? See here, let's take Hyderabad population. None of the respondent has been selected from the Hyderabad. So that means what? It will probably have a sampling error. It will not represent true and fair of entire population. Snowball sampling method. Okay. Similarly, let's take next one is quota. So next one is quota sampling method. In case of quota sampling, some quota will be fixed. For example, let's take we have some control variable. Control variable means, for example, we would like to collect data from male and female customers. Okay. So let's take a total population. You take a total population. 60% constitute male, 40% constitute female. So in such circumstances, you have identified some sample size based on the sampling formula. How many? What's the sample size? 1,000 is your sample size. Okay. So out of 1,000, you are supposed to collect 600 sample only from the male. Remaining 400 sample, you are supposed to collect only from the female. Okay. So this is the essence of the quota sampling. Okay. For example, let's take A, B, C, D, E. So this is also one of the non-probability sampling method. First, quota will be fixed. Based on the quota, data will be collected from the respondent. Okay. These are the non-probability sampling method. Okay. So Under non-probability sampling method, we have seen 4 methods. One is a convenient sampling method, another one is a judgmental sampling method, another one is a snowball sampling method, another one is a quota sampling method. Now, I would like to discuss random sampling. Random sampling. Okay. In random sampling, we can use different method. One is a simple random sampling. First one is a simple random sampling. So what is simple random? What is simple random sampling? In case of simple random sampling, I can write all students' name, and I can hold it in the small piece of paper. Okay, I can shuffle it again and again. Now I need only 20 data. Randomly, I can select one respondent. Okay. Now, similarly, I can select another respondent. Similarly, I can select another respondent. Okay, I have selected 20 respondents randomly. I don't know who will come next. Okay, so this method is said to be simple random sampling. Even the simple random sampling has some error. What is the error in simple random sampling? Let's take Bangalore. None of the respondent has been selected from Bangalore. Okay, sometimes huge number of respondents, even though you have adopted simple random sampling, sometimes a huge number of respondents might be selected from any one other region. Okay, this will represent true and fair view of the particular region. But when you go sample as a countrywide, this will not represent true and fair view of the entire population. This is a drawback of simple random sampling. Okay, so what is systematic sampling? Systematic sampling means what? The sample is chosen by selecting a random starting point, and then picking every 8th element in succession from the sampling framework. This is very simple. For example, you don't have any sampling framework. Under what circumstances you can use sampling? Under what circumstances you can use random sampling method? You should have sampling framework. You don't have sampling framework. Now what you can do? But if you don't have sampling framework, you are supposed to use non-probability sampling method. Either you can use judgmental sampling, or you can use convenient sampling, or you can use quota sampling, or you can use judgmental sampling. But you don't want to use this kind of sampling method. You would like to use only the random sampling method. Now you can use systematic random sampling method. So what is the procedure for using systematic random sampling method? You can stand in front of the organization. You can explain the purpose of your study to the respondent. After availing the services from the bank, if any customers comes out of the organization, you can fix the sample is chosen by selecting a random starting point. What is the random starting point? You can fix like this. And then I will go to the particular bank from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. regularly. Otherwise, I will collect data from the bank 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay. Whoever comes 8th person or 7th person after completing or after availing services from the bank, then just I will distribute the questionnaire. Okay. So what is the next person? Just I am keeping 7 as an interval. Next 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56. Okay, you don't know. Now you may ask her how randomness can be ensured under this method. I don't know who will come at 7th person, 14th person, or 21st person. Now what I can do is I can ensure randomness. So whenever you don't have any sampling framework, better you can use, if you wish to use random sampling method, better you go with systematic sampling method. Okay. Say for example, let's take this is a graphical illustration of systematic random sampling method. Okay, this is a bank XYZ. This is a bank. This bank has different customers. Okay, So what I can do is, what is my random starting point? 6 is my random starting point. Okay. So I have a gap. Say for example, over comes 11. I will collect data. Next, 15, 16. Then 5 is a interval. Okay, 16th, 21st person, 26th person. I can collect data. So now see here, data has been collected from all the columns or all the columns or all the cities. Next, just I would like to discuss stratified sampling. Stratified set of simple random sampling. Simple random sampling will not represent true and fair of entire population. Okay. Then just imagine the situation. One day, the one researcher have collected data. Collected data from the respondents by adopting simple random sampling method. Okay. What is that this is the study is related to the consumption of cold drinks. Okay. Then the researcher is supposed to collect 100 data. What is the problem is the researcher has collected all 100 data only from the male population. That means separately, but randomly he has identified. Unfortunately, it is a male. Second, process continued for a longer time category. Then the researcher is going to students and he asked a question. Then opinion is consumption habits. And female is a human being. Okay. If, say, for example, you have asked the question segment. Probably when you ask question, they may give their opinion. Then what about our opinion? We don't have any representation in research or another people has been selected. So we don't accept, we don't want to, then we should not accept this sampling method. This is a concern of the female students. Okay, now what we can do? We can create a strata. Strata means group. In case of stratified random sampling, what we can do is, first we should create a strata, male and female. First we should identify the sample size. What is my sample size? 100 is the sample size. Okay. What is the strata? How I can collect 100? I can collect 100 samples by way of strata. Male 50, female 50. Just I have adopted any method. Okay. Say for example, 50 male respondents came. 51 male respondents came. I should not consider 51 as a male. Okay. I should take only female till female. I should keep on drawing population, female population. Okay. When I do this, I can ensure randomness. I can ensure strata. So what is stratified sampling? A two-step process in which population is divided into subpopulation or strata. Strata means group. The strata should be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive in that every population element should be assigned to one and only one stratum and no population element should be omitted. Next, elements are selected from the strata by simple random sampling. Okay, that means, say for example, divide the population into groups that differ in important ways. Okay, so basis of grouping must be known before the sampling. That means strata should be decided really in advance. For example, what could be the strata? Middle class, low class, high class. This may be one of the strata. Individual customer or business customer may be one of the strata. Male or female, maybe one of the strata. Okay, let's take stratified random sampling. Okay, see, when let's take A, B, C, D, E. Okay, then when you select when you administer the stratified sampling method, definitely you will collect, you should have collected data from at least any or other respondents. Let's take city A. I have collected data from the respondents 4. Let's take city B. And then I have collected data from roll number 7, C 13, D 19, E 21. Okay. Similarly, I can use cluster sampling. What is cluster sampling? Cluster means it's a group of population is first divided into mutually exclusively one subpopulation. Then random sample of cluster is selected based on the probability sampling and techniques such as SRS. That is, all the elements are included in the sample, or the sample of elements is drawn probably. Okay. Say for example, let's take, normally this is termed as even multi-stage sampling you might have seen. For example, let's take entire country will be divided into different state. Okay, we are the state. From the state, from the cluster, we can collect data. Okay, this is the meaning. We have seen the potential sources of error. There is random sampling and non-random. The random sampling and non-random sampling error again. Okay. Thank you. With regard to sampling design. Again, I would like to recapitulate what we discussed. So far. We have seen what is sampling method, what is sampling method, what is sampling, what is census. We have seen under what circumstances we can use census. We have seen under what circumstances we can use a sampling. We have seen under what circumstances we can use probability sampling, and under what circumstances we have used non-probability sampling method. Next, we have seen some important terminology like study population, target population, sampling unit, sampling framework we have seen. Next, we have seen sampling design process we have seen. Next, we have discussed what is sampling error, non-sampling error we have discussed. Next, we have seen what is probability sampling method, what is non-probability sampling method, and what is probability sampling method. In case of probability sampling method, all the population will have an equal opportunity of being selected as a sampling. In case of non-probability sampling method, all the population units will not have an equal opportunity of being selected as a sample. Next, we have seen under non-probability sampling method, we have seen 4 sampling method. One is simple, one is convenient sampling method. Next one is judgmental sampling method. Third one is snowball sampling method. Fourth one is quota sampling method. Under probability sampling method, we have seen simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, and cluster sampling. Okay, so these are the things. These are the aspects. Just I wanted to share. If you have any queries, kindly post your query. Sir, yes, tell me, sir.
We will use your 5 minutes to just answer.
Okay.
I request all the participants, please fill the feedback form. Only 300 participants filled it. Still 140 students. Please fill the feedback form. Otherwise, please don't expect. I will not post the feedback in the WhatsApp group. I request all the participants, please fill the feedback form. The only active participant is 445 participants. We received only 350. Still 140 participants are not filled the feedback form. Otherwise, we will not post feedback form in the WhatsApp group, because in WhatsApp group there are 1,000 participants are there. They are not attending the session. So I am requesting all the participants, please fill the feedback form. Otherwise, the organizers are not responsible. I request, please, all of you, please fill the feedback form. For the attendance purpose also. Okay. Mr. Murthy sir,
Yes, sir.
questions are very excellent, sir. Actually, the feedback is also like that, very excellent. All are giving wonderfully. But the active participant out of the total population, 1,500 participants, 480 participants are active.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Normally this will happen in almost all
the judgments.
all the professional development program. Okay, but even though we should render some justice to the real participants.
Therefore, I'm doing this all exercise. I'm keeping all track record.
Okay, sir. No problem. Okay, sir.
Okay, you can continue.
Okay, dear participants, if you have any queries, kindly post your queries in the chat box. I am ready to clarify your doubts.
Actually, out of 445,
Yes.
400 are very actively submitted the Google form. Means others are sleeping.
Oh.
Correct,
Oh.
sir?
Yes, sir.
Maybe 30, 40, simply joined and mute.
Yes. Okay, sir.
And
Okay.
what the result?
Okay, sir. I think one of the participant is asking questions with regard to snowball sampling.
Yes.
Snowball sampling is like we should select the sample on 5th, 10th basis. Can we go like that? No. This is not a snowball sampling. What we are saying is a systematic random sampling. Normally, snowball sampling, we can adopt